Good morning, this is Randy. I wanted to talk a little bit about psychosis. A lot of the community right now somehow seems to be on the topic of psychosis and whether or not the narcissist or the NPD, malignant narcissist, psychopath in your life is mentally ill, suffering from psychosis, or are they just a criminal, or are they, is their brain warped from this severe trauma? Did somehow their brain split? And if it did, does that mean they're mentally ill? And I guess, I don't know, not much of that truly matters because it's the behavior that they show, in my opinion, and the damage that they do that's important. And whether or not we call it brain damage, a reaction to trauma in their life as an infant, a toddler, or a young child, or even an adolescent, or whether we call it evil, which is one of the things that I like to call it because that's what it feels like to me. But when thinking about whether or not they're psychotic, the term psychotic does mean that you're out of touch with reality, and the narcissist seems to be in touch with reality at some times and then out of touch with reality at other times. And the things that they are out of touch with appear to be about selective topics. So it does often seem that it's intentional psychosis. And I have worked with psychotic, mentally ill patients who are diagnosed with some kind of schizophrenia or psychosis. And one of the ways that you treat them just on a day-to-day basis is that you reality orient them. You constantly point out reality to them and help them try to come back to this world, come back to reality. And it works sometimes, and sometimes it doesn't. Medication also helps that. I don't believe that medications, antipsychotics, help with the narcissist or NPD, but not sure we would really know because they don't seek treatment, and they probably would not get a doctor to prescribe an antipsychotic for them, since they seem to be in reality, especially when talking to strangers or people that they don't know. People in the external world don't bring out the psychosis in them. It's not overt, it's very covert. They're able to keep it together and maintain a facade with the outer circles. When you get into the inner circle, this is when they begin wanting you to share their psychosis. And when you, if it's a relationship, not a family member, if it's a relationship that you begin and you're being love bombed or you're just meeting the person, it won't become evident because they will be, in my case, be very grandiose, and you'll just believe what they're saying because it makes sense. It's not totally off the charts how confident they are and how successful they are, because some people truly are confident and successful. So you have no idea that they're not really who they say they are, and it would take a while for you to get to know them for that to really be proven to you. So you usually would take them at their word. So the first way that they try to get you to support their psychosis is their psychosis about themselves. So they have this vision of themselves, this grandiose, entitled, overconfident, overcompensating vision of themselves. And they want others to join them in that psychotic thinking, because it's a distortion, and they want people who will join them in their world to, reflect back on them, that yes, truly, that is how things are. You are correct in your vision and in your assumptions and in your view of yourself. That's what they want. So when you do support their psychosis, it's kind of like patronizing. I mean, I remember looking at my narcissist, back in the early days, 15 years ago or so, 18 years ago, and kind of being really amazed at how motivated and ambitious he seemed, how confident, how sure of himself. But in a way, it was kind of like looking at him kind of as a child, like, oh, isn't that cute? He's really got a lot of confidence. He really feels good about himself. Isn't that, isn't that cute? Isn't that nice? How motivated and ambitious he is, and that's just that's just really cute. You know, wow, what a nice what a nice trait to have. And so, as you begin to slowly see that they are not who they think they are. And if you dare to point any of the reality out to them, that's when you start getting different kinds of snide remarks back, and you start getting these reactions that seem very off base to you. So, not only you know, the fact that you're not dealing with a mental patient that you're getting paid for to sit and reality orient or play along, one of the two, but actually you're voluntarily with this person in this relationship, and they are wanting you to join in their psychosis about them. And you have to constantly resist your own urge to reality orient them about themselves, about things that are clearly off in terms of their own perception about themselves. And so when you pull back and stop reality orienting the narcissist, or if you test it out and see their reaction, becomes rageful, violent, and basically you lose, you get punished when you reality orient, you will pull back and stop doing that, and then pull back and observe again. And sometimes you'll question yourself. Well, maybe I'm the one who's perceiving this wrong. They're so sure of themselves. They're so confident in themselves. And it becomes this little game of whose reality is correct, because they are so sure of themselves and become so angry that you pull back, and basically, again, you stop reality orienting them. And while you do that, your own reality becomes blurred and your own reality becomes questionable. And this is where the damage comes to the close person that's not the narcissist, who pulls back in their reality orientation of the other person and stops pointing out reality, or chooses to go ahead and join in the psychosis. And when you join in someone's psychosis, you are jeopardizing your own reality testing. It may be like you're playing a game at first and you go along with the game, but when a liar lies long enough to themselves, they begin to believe their lies. And when a person denies reality or shares in a psychotic view of the world, or a view of the narcissist with the narcissist, they begin to be psychotic themselves. So it's folie à deux, or folie à deux. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. But after the narcissist shows you that he's psychotic and will not allow you to bring any kind of reality into his own vision of himself. He or she will also begin to show you that he's psychotic about others, psychotic about the world, psychotic about people that are outside of himself. But some of it may seem, again, based in reality. He may make some observations that you agree with. And so if you agree with his view of the world and with his view of other people, then everything will be fine. But they do have quite a paranoid view of the world. They tend to see others as, out to get them. They see others as a reflection of themselves, their inner selves, and they know how manipulative they are, so they see others as being very manipulative, very evil. On the other hand, they admire others who are manipulative and evil because those people may have gotten material things or gotten fame and fortune, which is something that the narcissist wishes they had and wants. So not only do they admire and are jealous of you, because that's why they picked you. They admire, and they're envious of you. They also have admiration for a lot of people out in the world, and they envy others as well. And then the third way that they want you to share the psychosis is the most damaging way in terms of your sense of self. So they get this distortion in their head about you, their partner, their close partner, and they have that back and forth thing going with admiring you and both hating you, envying you, and being jealous of you. So when they become angry and jealous of you and they blurt things out, sometimes the mask slips at times, and they reveal their perception of you, which is totally off base, has no basis in reality. When they do that, they want you to share in that negative vision of yourself, and so now you're sharing their psychosis about themselves. You begin to share their psychosis about the world and the outer world and other people, and then you begin to share their psychosis, hopefully not, but you may, about yourself. And that's where the damage really comes in serious, and it's this gradual thing because you start believing that maybe what they're saying about you is true, and you you don't realize at the time when it's happening that it's actually just this progressive psychotic delusion that they're asking you to share into and buy into. And if you reply or respond by maybe calling them names, by daring to call them a name, after they've done all this kind of manipulation and shared psychosis, you may call them a name and they'll discard you after years and years. So it's okay for them to warp your mind, to abuse you for years. And if you dare to call them one name after years of abuse and distortions and loyalty and support that you provide, you dare to call them a dirty pig or a nasty slob or a, you know, disgusting piece of slime or piece of shit, they'll discard you in a heartbeat. It's like a psycho soul killing crusher discarding you because you called them a name. Thanks.